Hey everyone, hey wellness crew, and welcome to today's reading of The Art of Contemplation, A Gentle Path to Wholeness and Prosperity. So this book is super tiny, it's not very long at all. There is a very big possibility that we will be finishing this up today. So we'll just see how it goes. 3. Gentleness. We have already seen the importance of the role of gentleness when we explored the technique of pivoting. Here again in merging, gentleness is paramount. In the ancient traditions of India, there is a virtue known as ahimsa. Ahimsa. I hope I said that correctly. Although often equated with compassion, ahimsa also conveys the notion of harmlessness and nonviolence in all of life's activities. To embody this concept in your life is to attain a very high state of self-discipline. Ahimsa, I'm going to be stuck on that word all day, means we learn to be gentle not just externally, but also towards ourselves. Though it may be labeled soft and weak, gentleness is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. True gentleness means that we learn to temper our words, thoughts, and actions. The technique of merging rests upon the rock of gentleness. When we are gentle towards others, it does not mean that we allow them to walk all over us. It simply means that when we decide to take a stand in anything, we do so with respect towards others. By adding a soft touch to our daily doings, we create curves where there are hard edges, and we trigger smiles instead of frowns. Gentleness simply makes life easier. The most challenging practice of gentleness is to apply it to oneself. Merging requires that we let go of our self-judgments and quit being so hard on ourselves. We can hold ourselves to the highest standards, yet we can still forgive ourselves for our fallibility. Gentleness is a quality natural to all forms of parenting. Sometimes when we are faced with violence or injustice, it helps to remember the wounded child that is always behind it. To experience merging, we must become the compassionate parent, employing a balance of firmness and gentleness, of freedom tempered with natural boundaries. The paradoxical strength of merging. When you begin to contemplate and employ the 3 simple principles above, everything will begin to change in your life. If, for example, you begin using them in your business dealings, your entire strategy may have to change as you consider the implications of your activities on others and on the environment as a whole. There is no tougher discipline than gentleness. There is no harder taskmaster than generosity. There is nothing more clarifying than friendship. In the ancient Taoist teachings from China, the sages often spoke of the paradox of the softness of water. The very quality that makes water weak, its yielding, is the power that allows it to defeat all else, from the hardest rock to the most raging fire. Merging conveys the same paradox. As we learn to merge, so we learn to trust everything that life delivers us. We give ourselves to it, allowing it to open us, even to shatter us if necessary. Sometimes our dreams are the wrong dreams. They may contain a grain of truth at their source, but sometimes our mind or ego also imposes its own agenda on our actions. It can be a shock to realize that sometimes we have been trying to force something to happen for years, only to realize that there is a much easier and more fulfilling path waiting for us somewhere else. It takes great inner strength to be open, honest, and vulnerable. We need not parade our vulnerability around, but neither do we need to hide it. When we can show our humanity, we immediately begin to engender trust from others. Merging brings people closer. It purposely softens the boundaries between the illusion of the inner and the outer, and between the self and the others. The third confirmation, Epiphany. Each of the three confirmations are signs that our practice of contemplation is unraveling smoothly. Insight begins in the mind. Breakthrough tends to be more emotional. And finally, epiphany is a powerful physical phenomenon that shakes our whole being. Epiphany is the most powerful of the three confirmations, and early on in one's practice, it is relatively rare. Epiphany occurs at the crescendo of merging, when the walls around our heart spontaneously melt and life rushes into us. At such a time, we may feel a kind of ecstasy surging through the cells of our body. Most of us have at some point experienced such an epiphany. One of the aims of contemplation is to increase the frequency of such experiences in our life. Despite how it may sound, epiphany is not a high. It is rather a moment of profound merging as our soul remembers the higher purpose of existence. The English Romantic poet William Wordsworth called such moments of awe spots of time, and he goes on to say how we can draw great strength from them. Epiphanies are in fact very natural events that do not take us up and away into flights of fancy, but draw us down deeper and deeper into our body than ever before. Epiphanies arise outside of time, when our mind and heart are at rest, and we have cultivated a deep love of pausing. They begin to occur at a more advanced stage of contemplation, when pausing is no longer something we consciously do. It has become a part of us, like the moment of stillness between breaths. Epiphany both fills us up and empties us out. It is a path of embodiment in which we finally refine our contemplation into an art. Art signifies that we have transcended all technique. Now we don't do. I get so many scam calls. It does us. Such is the mystery that lies at the end of the rainbow of our simple daily practice of pausing. Applying merging, perspective, humor, and lightness. The application of merging to our daily life has the delightful effect of lightening any load we are carrying through life. Merging gives us a sense of true perspective, casting a new light on all our so-called troubles. A vital ingredient of the contemplative life is a sense of humor. Humor begins with oneself, as we learn to laugh at ourselves and our over-seriousness. When you touch the essential in life, all else falls into perspective, and contemplation brings you naturally to the essence of things. Things that seem things that used to seem important to you begin to fade. Thank you so much for the like. The need to be right, or the urge always to express one's opinions and be heard, seems less important through the prism of contemplation. What does become important is to connect with people, to listen to their hearts, and to enjoy their company as much as possible in the brief time we have on this earth. Before and during the Second World War, as the terrified victims of the Stalinist regime found themselves jammed into freight trains, hurtling towards the gulags, one character stood out above all others: the comedian. Thank you so much for the like. Among so many miserable people, there would occasionally rise one who managed to crack jokes, in spite of the terrible situation. Many jokes were at the expense of their captors, but they would generate unexpected chuckles and smiles. Above all, they reminded all present that even in the darkest night, there can be glints of light and communal warmth. The art of contemplation teaches us to covet this precious but vital gift of lightness. Sometimes when the clouds gather and press in on us, or when our brows curl into furrows, the one thing we need above all is the sense of greater perspective. Contemplation reminds us that life has a way of resolving itself, in time often revealing a hidden higher purpose behind the events of our lives. The reward of merging, the body of being. In the Christian mystical tradition, there is a wonderful term called kenosis, which means literally to empty oneself out. Although similar to catharsis, kenosis offers us a far softer approach. While catharsis is associated with a dramatic and sometimes explosive releasing of emotional tension or anguish, kenosis is a gentler and subtler way of internal transformation. The essence of kenosis is patience. You contemplate and you wait. You watch the ripples moving out and out. These are your thoughts, ideas, feelings, questions, and confusions. One day you simply hit upon a place of wonderful emptiness. All those issues have simply resolved inside you on their own. Contemplation is kenotic in this way. It empties you. First thoughts exhaust themselves, then feelings, then even your will to understand leaves you. And then you are left simply there, resting in your being. At the end of this epic poetic quest for truth and peace, the great Austrian poet Rainer Maria Rilke experienced the sense of kenosis, which he caught in the immortal words, "Look, I am living on what? Neither childhood nor future grows any smaller. Superabundant being wells up in my heart." The reward for all the years you put into refining the art of contemplation is just this: to return to the purity of your true being, to realize your own wholeness and thus to be utterly at ease in your body and in the world. In all the great mystical traditions, the end of the journey always involves a return back to the world, whether that is carrying water and chopping wood, or living an integrated and peaceful life in modern society. The reward of merging is a life without fear, doubt, or anxiety. A life of beauty, simplicity, and prosperity. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop here. I guess we do have enough for one more reading. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and or join one of the membership tiers as it is popping off. And I will see you on the next video or live stream. Be well, stay wild as well.